and welcome to me actually making a Arkham City video. Now, in our last video, I went over my history with Arkham Asylum and why it's my favorite video game of all time. And in this video, I'm going to go over my history with Arkham City and why it's not my favorite video game of all time. Now, before I start, I just want to say that I know this one is the majority of Arkham fans' favorite game. And I'm not here to bash this game in any way, because I love every game in the series, even this one, but all I ask of you is to hear me out on why this game just doesn't really do as well for me compared to the other main three. But first, let's start with my history. Okay, so there's nowhere near as much history to this one compared to Asylum, but I do have some funny stuff to share. So before City came out, everyone playing Asylum was scratching their heads at what the secret room in the warden's office meant in relation to the next game. And I remember seeing that first teaser, the camera panning out to show the entire portion of Gotham has become the Asylum, and seeing the enemies run through the streets was kind of unreal. And then we go up to the steel mill and see Joker. I mean, that was a good way to get people excited, especially for me, because I was about 7 and probably 6 playthroughs through of Arkham Asylum at that point.
Saving Dr. Young, Scarecrow, Bane, Batman.
And with each new trailer, the game looked genuinely insane. And this was a little bit before I had free reign access to YouTube as a kid, so the only time I saw these were if my dad showed me or if I saw them in the TVs inside a GameStop. But I would sit there like I was watching the moon landing. And one thing I completely forgot to touch on the last video is Joker being a playable character in the PS3 version of Arkham Asylum. Of course, I had the Xbox version, so I was always envious and upset that I couldn't play as Joker. And I would always cope with that fact by making up characters that would be exclusive to the Xbox version. I remember having a dream about playing as Bane as an Xbox exclusive. And all I'm saying is both Joker and Bane were playable in the Online Origins multiplayer, so I'm a bit of a fortune teller, but seeing that Catwoman was now playable for both consoles in City made me so happy, because I wouldn't be missing out on anything this time. And come October 27th, 2011, it was my birthday, and my dad took me and my sister to Disneyland. Upon returning home, he gave me one last present and handed me this. The Arkham Asylum fanatic had his hands on City, and I play this every day after school. I remember being so amazed at how finely tuned they made the gliding now. I mean, if you thought a younger me loved Asylum gliding, imagine how I felt when I could do this all of a sudden. This game was insane, and it was the first time that Arkham was actually starting to be noticed by other kids my age, so I could talk about it at school. And I've always been a huge fan of Nintendo, so of course I had a Wii U, so imagine my face when this rolls across my radar. I mean, it cannot be understated how much this game made me happy. I mean, even back then it wasn't perfect. I still went back to Asylum even in 2012, but having 2 Batman games now was so awesome. But that's pretty much my history with City up until this point, so time for this stinky adult to take the wheel. So I replayed all of City for this video and marked down all the stuff that I loved and I disliked about it. And I'm just going to come out and say that there's a lot of stuff that I disliked. And now I don't want you to get the wrong idea. I still love this game. But let's just walk through it and I'll explain myself along the way and maybe you can understand where I'm coming from. Now, I just finished telling you about how awesome it is to have all platforms use the same characters this time around, and I think that's great. But I think a lot of people would agree that some of the Catwoman story bits really break up the pacing of the game, and she's not all that fun to traverse the city with because she doesn't glide, she doesn't climb very fast, she doesn't grapple instantly like Batman does, and I totally understand that this is just part of her character. Obviously she's not going to have a cape, but her travel options just feel really sluggish sometimes. I think having her whip act just like the grapple would be much better for controlling her, but instead it starts this little mini game that isn't very easy to figure out, and it just takes your focus away from what you're really trying to do. You start off the game playing as Catwoman, and I actually think that's really cool. Just like Asylum, it drops you right into a fight, and for people coming straight from Asylum, it's really fun to play as a different character right away. It also sets up Catwoman's goal and motivation for later and how she's tied into all of this. But her story is also a weak point for this game for me, besides that opening part, and all of her sections just kind of feel ill-placed and not thought out. I mean, the entire scene with Batman getting faked out by Harley and Joker and then being captured is so good. But then it's like, oh, no, time for Catwoman.
Next tape! Hey, wait a minute, what happened? What happens next? Come on, let's see the next episode!
And the timing of her story is also kind of a little wacky. When her and Batman first meet, Protocol 10 is happening in 10 hours, right? Then she goes over to Ivy's place, and by the time we're at Protocol 10, she's still there. Like, was she just in there for a full 10 hours, or are we missing a whole part before she went to Ivy's where she spends that time? Like, am I missing something here? I'm really grateful that they decided to put Catwoman in the game, but her inclusion just feels super weak and tacked on. On the other hand, though, her combat and movement feel really nice and a lot smoother than Batman's. She plays like she doesn't need any gadgets or special takedowns, and it's really satisfying to just fight with her and not use anything else. Overall, I'm really happy that she was included, but it was definitely a rough start for including other playable characters in the story. I think they did it much better later on. So the way I see these first two games is Asylum was more of like an art piece. It was like a dark, isolated Batman story with its own distinctive flavor. But Arkham City is where the franchise really became a DC franchise. It feels much more big and ambitious, and it has lore that takes from pre-existing stories. Not to mention the comic prequel run the game had to explain a bit more of the story and the gang war going on in Arkham City. It basically explained that there was 3 separate parts: the Penguin side, the Two-Face side, and the Joker side. Arkham City was built by Quincy Sharp from the Asylum, who is now mayor of Gotham, which seems super unlikely knowing what we know about him from Asylum, but it gets a great explanation later, as Quincy tells Batman that Hugo came to him and used his powerful friends to ensure that he won the election and funded all of his campaigns. All Quincy had to do was set up Arkham City and put Strange in charge. They section off a portion of Gotham to put all the criminals in. Hugo Strange being in charge of the entire operation means he has full control of what goes on, and his plan is very well thought out. All of his guards and staff are Tiger Guards, which are basically brainwashed puppets. They only know their mission, and they even talk like robots. They're very obedient and consistent. Anyone else that had any dirt on Hugo or even worked on the place was thrown into Arkham City as like a cover-up. Hugo's ultimate plan, Protocol 10, is a massive execution. It's a last resort plan they put in place by Strange and the City Council. So the whole game, Hugo is making efforts to get Arkham City to a point where Gotham is scared enough to give him the okay to basically just kill them all. And when the game starts, we see Bruce doing something that Batman can't. He's using his influence to stop Arkham City, or try. Even Vicky Vale comments about how this is very out of character for him, but I really like when Bruce realizes that there are some things that he can't accomplish merely as Batman, and sometimes Bruce Wayne has to step up. But this, in turn, gets him captured by Strange. I feel I should mention there's a big detail about the relationship between these two, and that's that Hugo Strange knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Capturing Bruce Wayne is so much easier than Batman.
And there's no real sense of urgency in this fact. Hugo says, if you try to stop me, I can guarantee everyone will know your secret. But that's just like a lie, because Batman makes efforts to stop him for 10 hours straight, and Strange does nothing with the information of Batman's identity. But for all of these little nitpicky things, I do still think this game has a great story. It's less heavy on symbolism than Asylum is, and it really just spells out the story for you. But that's not to say it doesn't have cool symbolism in it. Mr. Freeze destroys one of the cures in front of Batman, symbolizing how only one of these two will end up cured. Or like the painting in the beginning of the game matching how Batman carries Joker in the end. Or how we begin the quest to stop Hugo Strange by climbing up the Ace Chemicals building and end it by climbing up Wonder Tower. Or like how Wonder City, the supposed utopia, uses mindless robots to keep order, just like how Hugo Strange uses mindless brainwashed Tiger Guards. And have you ever noticed the motif of the number 2 in this game? I mean, besides the fact that this is the second Arkham game, we start in a split room with Two-Face goons. We have 2 playable characters for the story. There are 2 mini-bosses who are literally separated conjoined twins named Hammer and Sickle. We have the dynamic of both Batman and Joker being sick, and by the end, Batman feels responsible for 2 deaths.
He won't even talk about Talia or Joker.
Not to mention 2 Jokers, and I mean, the DLC literally says he's been gone for 2 days.
He's been gone 2 days. I'm worried.
Even if this is like a stretch, it's still pretty fun to look at. If you found any more, let me know, because I'm genuinely curious if there's even more examples of this. Lastly, on the topic of story, I want to talk about the League of Assassins and Clayface, because I think they're both the strongest points of the story for me. Let's start with the League. We first encounter them while talking to Freeze about making the cure. We need a restorative enzyme that has been bonded to human DNA. And wouldn't you know it, there happens to be a League member in the room that escapes and allows Batman to track them right where their hideout is. And introduce Robin in a pretty cool way too. Down in the sewers, next to the entrance to Wonder Tower, we have Wonder City, an attraction for old Gotham, which was obviously run by Ra's al Ghul, because we hear him talk over the speakers.
Cities like Gotham will grow to resemble hell breaking through the sidewalk, continuing up into the sky.
He talks about humanity getting out of control and proposes a utopia called Wonder City. As we go through here, we see the mechanical guardians, which are super cool to me, and they also allow us to see the secret entrance to the League's hideout. Hey, how did Riddler get down here? What the fuck? In order to see Ra's, we have to take his demon trials, where he guides us through a visual interpretation of the destroyed world he warned us about. It's here we learn how Ra's is looking for a successor to carry on his ideas for the future. And when Batman declines, they fight. Batman wins, takes his blood, and leaves. Next time we see Ra's is when we find out that he was the one pulling the strings behind Hugo Strange. Protocol 10 was Ra's way of thinning the population and building a better world. I really love this twist, and it makes so much sense given all that we know from Ra's ideas and dreams of what he wants Gotham to be. Finally, I want to talk about Clayface. For me, Clayface is this story's coolest bit, disguising himself as Joker and being the game's final boss. Throughout the game, we see Joker sick, of course, and he has Clayface stand in for him as just like a little prank for Batman. Or maybe it was just a clever way to have a bodyguard for Joker. But then, as Harley somehow traverses the destroyed path to the GCPD, no, for real, like how did she get over there? She was interrupted at some point by Talia in the League of Assassins. Talia takes the cure from her, and this is where Clayface really gets to play his part, which is a fun connection to make as Clayface's Basil Carlo, who used to be an actor, and here we have him playing the role of Joker. And what's super cool about this is you can see little hints and little slip-ups hinting toward this twist throughout the game. But my favorite one is the TV outside the steel mill, where Clayface Joker is talking about a finale to a show, which is way more on theme for him than it is for Joker. And to top it off, we hear the real Joker cough behind the camera.
Ouch. Would you be happy?
I think everything with Clayface was done super well, and it's definitely one of my favorite parts of this game. Overall, I think while the story isn't quite my favorite, I can still appreciate it for what it is, and I totally understand why people love it so much. But just like in our other video, it's not about story, it's not about symbolism sometimes. The main part of a video game is the gameplay. So let's talk about the gameplay now. This game is an obvious step up in gameplay from Asylum. Every bit of it is an improvement, so this section won't really have much in the way of negativity because I can't really deny that all of these new features make playing as Batman just a bit more intuitive. I won't go over every change that was made, but some of my favorites are the grapple boost, which is a way to traverse the city faster. Also the new special moves. My favorite one being the multi-ground takedown, or whatever it's called. And all the new glide mechanics. If you remember from the Asylum video, I used to love how Batman would glide in Asylum. And this game's gliding just blew me away. I remember going to my dad's house excited, telling him, Batman can fly! And showing him the insane distance you can get with dive bombs. But the main gameplay improvement for a lot of people were the bosses. Clayface has 2 different phases and is really creative for how you take him down with the ice grenades. Seeing Batman use a sword for it is the perfect final boss. Grundy is also a super unique fight. It requires you to use your explosive gel. And I really like that idea because it's one of the coolest gadgets we have. And here is one of the coolest designs for a villain in the franchise, so it blends together to make this fight super fun and challenging. Now I've saved my favorite for last. Mr. Freeze has, in my opinion, one of the best fights in Arkham history. You use everything new in this game's combat and predator system to inch away at his health. And it can seriously give you a hard time if you aren't familiar with all your tools and how they work.
No!
The only thing I think is missing is I feel there should have been some sort of boss or major fight outside in the actual city. I mean, that's why we're here after all, right? Is the city. And before you say anything, Deadshot does not count. But now that I mentioned Deadshot, let's get to that part of the game. I want to talk about the side missions, and I'm just going to come out and say it, this is not a strong point for me. A lot of these side missions suck major left cheek. The AR training is fine, and I guess it gives you the grapnel boost, which is damn near necessary for Zaz if you aren't sick as hell. But the random acts of violence, I mean, like, it would be cool if they were more dynamic and required you to save them in more creative ways, like the Riddler hostages were. But no, you just kind of like hear them and take down the guy like 40 times. The stolen freeze tech and the Iceberg Lounge missions are stupid. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's stupid. It's literally an entire side mission consisting of going to one place, getting something, and then you're done. The freeze cluster isn't even required for anything. It's kind of genuinely useless. I mean, like, woohoo, I can freeze a couple guys at once, I guess. I mean, it's cool. I'm not saying I wish I wasn't in the game. I'm just saying an entire side mission. Okay, go pick it up. Yay, you're done. Good job. And the Mind Disruptor thing is a lot more useful, but it's still in the same boat. Like, does this need to be a side mission? I mean, might as well make Speaking to Calendar Man a side mission at that point. Now, Nora Freeze is also in that same kind of style of just going one place, but this one is at least thematic, and it matters to the story. You're told by Freeze to find his wife, and he's genuinely grateful for your help. And you can even see the ice path he took to go see her, which is a really lovely touch. Now let's get the good side missions out of the way before I touch on the evil too. Azrael is so amazing. The way you just randomly find him while doing other things, and it requires you to be curious. Like, hey, who that motherfucker? The symbols pointing to the final meetup point on the map is so cool, as well as his music and design, not to mention the relevance he has for Arkham Knight too. To me, this is a wonderful side mission, a really, really good inclusion. Hush is also great. Hush is probably the hardest side mission to complete without a guide, because you have to find all the bodies yourself. Just by exploring, you uncover the victims of the identity thief and uncover more of the story of how everyone thinks that it's Bruce Wayne, and the paranoia of the whole situation getting to Oracle and confusing Batman, which all concludes with a beautiful stylized cutscene with Hush talking over it on tape deck. This part really gives Asylum vibes, and it's the best feeling for me.
Though still present, has been worth it. He will suffer for what he did to me.
Then right there he is. And sure enough, he constructed his own Bruce Wayne face out of the pieces he took from other people's faces. And then he leaves, perfectly setting up for his return in Night. And then we have Mad Hatter, another amazing one. The Alice in Wonderland style of this one, and the fight is so gorgeous and perfect for this character. The way everything looks is exactly what you would want. And even if the fight itself is simple, it's still beautiful to look at and a bit creepy all at the same time, because the mind-controlled henchman and Batman's bunny mask. The only thing I don't like about this one is Mad Hatter says he captured Batman by making him see what he wanted most, which was the cure. Which makes sense if you play the side mission during the main story. But afterward, it makes no sense why Batman would still want a cure for an illness he no longer has. To me, it would have been much better to change depending on where the player was in the story. If Batman was already cured, then Talia would be dead. And it would be awesome to have something of Talia's here instead to show Batman that she's still alive. Because at that point, that would definitely be what he wanted most. But that still doesn't stop me from loving this side mission. It's still an incredible one. Then we've got Deadshot. This one's plain and simple. It's fun and engaging. This one takes the detective part of Batman full force and allows you to slowly track down Deadshot by analyzing the tiny mistakes he makes, leading up to what is frankly an anticlimactic final battle. But I mean, the main part was still fun, so it's alright for me. This one gets an A, C+. Okay, so now we move on to the worst two. The two that are both stupid and annoying. Let's start with Bane. This one's stupid, and I am not sorry about it. The whole premise is Bane wants Batman's help to round up the remaining Titan containers that were shipped off Arkham Island. There are 12 in total. After Batman destroys his 6, Bane reveals that he kept his 6 because he wants it all for himself. And then he tries to kill Batman. Okay, so wait, hold on. Wait, rewind. So Bane is perfectly capable of getting these Titan containers. But instead of just getting all 12 and keeping them for himself, he decides his best plan is to get Batman to destroy 6 of them and then attempt to kill Batman after revealing to him that he has 6 more? Okay. So he misses out on 12, right? Okay. But then he's got 6 more. Oh, no, he told he told Batman about the 6 for no reason. I mean, he could have just kept that to himself and told Batman, "Oh, good work. Thanks for helping me." I mean, what was Batman going to do? Arrest him? He's already in Arkham City just minding his own business. But no, he decides he's going to blow his own cover and make the world's worst attempt at trying to kill Batman by just running at him straight into a room, which Batman closes with a thin metal gate. All right, let me repeat that for the people in the back. Batman traps Bane. Batman traps Bane behind a thin metal gate. We are talking about Bane here, guys. What makes you think he can't escape this? What makes him think he can't escape this? I mean, am I the only one that sees how stupid this side mission is? Like, I don't mean to be negative, but wow. It was like this whole thing was like written for a Hanna-Barbera scene.
We don't have long to find the twins. Follow me.
But at the end of the day, destroying the Titan containers was the main part of the side mission. And it's pretty fun. So I can't really say that it had nothing going for it. And it's still cool to see Bane. But let's move on to the real star of the butt sack side missions. Victor Zsasz. Here's a quick rundown of this mission. Victor Zsasz is using payphones to capture people and kill them, right? So when you hear a payphone ring in the overworld, you can answer it and you have to rush over to another payphone in order to save someone from being killed. When you get to the second payphone, you listen to Zsasz talk about his origins and you try to trace the phone call to his location. Doesn't sound all that bad, right? Yeah, sure, it wouldn't be bad if the motherfucker would chill out and stop calling you every 5 minutes. This motherfucker calls you all the time.
It's me. I'm Gossip Girl.
He's always on that damn phone. The noise of the phone ringing is so annoying because it's a side mission. You want to go do it, but it's always when you're doing something else. So if you want to take advantage of this situation, you have to stop and drop everything you're doing and pick up the phone. And then you glide to the opposite side of the city to pick up the second phone every single time. If you were going over to the steel mill to sweep up all the Riddler trophies in that area and you hear a phone ringing, you have 2 options. You let it ring in your ears till he hangs up, or you settle for gliding to the other side of Arkham City and then going all the way back. Whatever side mission you're currently doing, no, Zsasz wants your attention. What are you doing, Deadshot? No, Zsasz wants to talk. Oh, you're gonna go get the freeze thing? Zsasz has something to say. He's got something to say to you. And you might be thinking, oh, okay, well, if it bothers you that much, just never answer the phone. Well, dear viewer, I'm glad you asked because I've done that before. And if you can get past the sound of the phone ringing 24/7, even during dialogue...
Arkham City is good for Gotham. If that's true, maybe that good comes at a price we shouldn't have to pay. This is Vicky Vale, talking to you live, and hoping she'll stay that way, in Arkham City.
And you have nothing else to do in the game, then guess what? Zsasz doesn't feel like talking anymore.
I don't want to.
You will pray to hear that phone ring, but it will never happen anymore. You will have to glide across the city just hoping that a phone will ring, and you feel like you're going insane because this hoe was just blowing up your phone, and now when you have the time for him, oh, he doesn't want to talk anymore. Sorry, Batman, you gotta wait for him to call and hope you can even pick up the phone because you may think that the phone ringing is on a timer. Oh no, my friends, it's on a whenever Zsasz feels like hanging up cycle. Yeah, he can just deny you on a call for no reason. He's pranking you. Not to mention if there's a henchman nearby, which there very often are, you may even have to defeat them before answering the phone. And all of this for the finale that involves you going in a circle around a room and performing one glass takedown on it.
What are you playing at, Batman? This is not over.
There is more engagement to taking him out in Asylum than this. After all of that, it just makes me really dislike this side mission. It's annoying to no end. I genuinely didn't even want to do it, but I had to get the footage for this video, so yay! I've never heard anyone complain about any of the side missions in this game because this game can do no wrong for a lot of people. But I cannot deny, I don't like this side mission. Bane is bad. Victor Zsasz makes me want to uninstall the game and then play Night 4 of FNAF Sister Location. But let me just cool off for a second, because I'm sure you've noticed that I left out one side mission because I didn't want to leave this section on such a sour note. Now we get to talk about Riddler. Riddler is such a huge step up from Asylum. He was so fun in Asylum, but this one has trophies, riddles, breakable objects, and even challenges to do. Not to mention the pink trophies that were meant for Catwoman. Why does Riddler care about Catwoman? Who knows? But let's choose to ignore it because there's enough about Catwoman in this video that doesn't make sense. And I really like Riddler in this game. In Asylum, we had the collecting of everything, but City introduces rewards for getting to a certain milestone. You solve an actual riddle that gives you the location of a hostage in a really cleverly designed room. These are all so fun and give the Riddler so much more flavor than he had before. These are genuine brain teasers and fit into the Riddler's theme so well. Some of the riddles may be tedious, and I still prefer physical maps to interrogating Riddler informants, but overall, I think this game handles Riddler insanely well, and it's a genuine shame that a lot of people who play this game don't really give this the attention it deserves. But hopefully, I've inspired you to go back and give it a try, because it's really, really nice. Now, before we end off, I want to touch on some small miscellaneous stuff. First of all, they gave us 2 playable characters like in Asylum, but then doubled it and gave us 4 for the challenge mode, which is so insanely cool, especially because of the little unique stuff that Robin and Nightwing have. Robin's bullet shield isn't really all that useful outside of the DLC for actually stopping bullets, but it's still a really, really cool idea. Snap flashes I mean, well, they exist. But my favorite thing is Nightwing's wrist darts. These are so fun, and I can never not use them when I'm playing as Nightwing. I mean, on their own, they just knock down. But if you manage to hit the enemy in the head, it is an instant knockout, which is so incredibly satisfying when you can pull it off. I think they did Nightwing so well, considering that he was probably the one that they put the least effort into. I mean, he doesn't even have any voice lines, but he's incredibly fun to play, and having all 4 of them here is amazing. Robin especially gets a cool little add-on because of his major portion in the Harley Quinn's Revenge DLC. I mean, you play as Robin for most of it. Now, this DLC is actually kind of broken, and it's been known to crash and delete all of its own save data for no reason. But like, if that doesn't happen, then it's really good. Now, I don't want this to turn into like an Easter egg video, so I'm going to mention the biggest 2 secrets in this game that I personally love. I love Big Head Mode. This is such a good example of how much love and fun games used to have back then. I mean, this stupid little secret technique turns everyone's head and hands big, and that's all it does. It's just stupid fun, and it's so fun to replay the game like this. The second one is the Scarecrow secret. By standing in a very specific spot between these 2 buoys, you can unlock the ship and find a bunch of packages or shipments for Jonathan Crane, and a guy who freaks out in front of you before dying. This is such an awesome little tease to say, hey, Scarecrow's coming back, and damn, did he really come back? And to end off this little miscellaneous section, I want to talk about my favorite glitch in any of the Batman games. Something that is so elusive and wonderful that I had to end this video off with it. And I'm going to call it the exterior Riddler room. This is a glitch that is fairly easy to pull off and grants an incredible reward for doing so. If you can get yourself to the left of this fence by the steel mill by gliding off and into it, you can just walk through this wall right here. And this door is the same one that takes you to one of the Riddler rooms. Since you're entering it from the wrong side, it puts you on the wrong side as well on the other side, which leads you here. A wonderland full of textures and random geometry that you can explore to your heart's content. And I really mean that, because with careful line launch techniques, you can get on top of the building. And with that, you can manage to get over to this floating fence over here, where you can perform another one of my favorite glitches. We'll call this one Infinite Height with the ice thing Gariam. By standing on the edge of a railing like this, you can spam the quick freeze button and Batman will gain height into the air. It's actually kind of harder than it looks to keep this up, but with this technique, you can explore all of this area in its untextured glory. You can even visit Riddler on this little stage that's used for when he talks to you inside. This is my favorite place to mess around in, and I highly recommend you check it out if you ever get the chance. You can go as far up as your heart's content. Look at this. My teachers always said, Blaine, you can do anything. The sky's the limit. Well, look at me now, hoes. I go past the motherfucking sky. Now I hope you understand my view on this game and why it's super amazing, but not really the same feeling to me as Asylum. I love City, and it is a true comic book game, and it takes a less stylistic approach to how it presents itself. And while I might have some gripes with it, I do still think it's well worth it to put the time into all the content it provides. I give it a out of 10. Would play again. Thank you all so much for watching. Please leave a comment letting me know if you liked this video. I really love interacting with comments. It's been my favorite part of these videos so far. Stay tuned. I'll be doing videos like this for every game in the series, so look out for Origins de Arkham. Also, there was a mobile version of City called Arkham Lockdown, and it had Kano from Mortal Kombat in it. So obviously it's not canon, but I don't know what that's about, but it's pretty cool. I thought I'd mention it. It's pretty I like it.